Hi, welcome to Losing Faith, Finding Spirit. Just want to kind of put a little heads up. The dangers of getting into couples therapy with a toxic, abusive narcissist. So couples therapy is a pretty hot thing. I remember doing it, premarital therapy, and it's kind of that thing that when you're having a rough patch in your marriage, you go to couples therapy. I am a big supporter of therapy in general. I have a psychology degree and a sociology degree. I'm all about talking to a professional about your life. I think that talk therapy has a lot of benefits. Cognitive behavior therapy through talk therapy is great. I think therapy in general is great. It has greatly benefited me in my own life, on my one-on-one sessions with my therapist. And I do believe that that is very beneficial for a lot of people. Life is, as my therapist says, control is an illusion. There's so many things outside of our control, so many things that are huge that we may have trouble navigating, and having a third person or a second opinion, somebody who has tools and training to kind of help, can be very beneficial. And it can be beneficial in a marriage or in a relationship as well, to have a third person who is, unbiased, impartial, who can give you a outsider's view into what you're dealing with. However, if you are in a relationship with a narcissist or an emotional abuser or a toxic person, couples therapy can be dangerous. Absolutely dangerous. And if you're in a relationship with an abusive, physically violent person, it is extremely dangerous, and I do not recommend it at all. I do not recommend it. I don't even really recommend it to anyone who's in a toxic or a narcissist relationship. What you need to do is go get your individual therapy. Getting separate individual therapy is going to be far more beneficial than a couples therapist when you're in a abusive relationship, because, and here's why. Narcissists feel shame when their dirty laundry is being aired. So in therapy, you're going to get vulnerable. You're going to open up. You're going to feel deep, dark, heavy emotions. That's what therapy, that's part of therapy is for. It's to get those emotions out and to work through them so that you can move forward and away from those emotions and be free of those things that are burdening you. Narcissists cannot handle those emotions. Abusers cannot handle those emotions. That is a core reason why they have this personality disorder, core reason why they are narcissists, why they are abusive. They have to regulate with you. They have to push those emotions onto external sources to self-regulate, because they cannot handle those emotions. They can't handle being vulnerable. Narcissists have very low, if any, empathy. And they don't understand that what they're doing is actually affecting you. They can't feel your feelings. They cannot empathize and understand how their actions and abuse is detrimental to you. So no matter how often you bring up, what he said or she said in therapy with your therapist, because that's what couples therapy is going to do. They're going to sit you down, talk to you about life, figure out what the issues are, and try to find a way to basically get you to communicate better. Most couples therapy is almost all about correcting communication. Some of us just need a little extra help getting our big feelings out to each other in a non-threatening and non-violent way. However, abusers cannot do that. Here's the thing though. They may pretend, they may put on the show, they may do the whole song and dance, they may cry, they may say they had no idea you felt that way. They may seem like they're going to do all the homework that the therapist recommends. And I'm going to tell you why when a narcissist seems like they're really getting into therapy with you and they're doing it, and you feel like, oh my gosh, this is it, this is the change that I want to see, they're doing it because they're getting narcissistic supply from the therapist. They're doing it because they're getting narcissistic supply from therapy. The therapist is a new supply channel now. They're showing up and acting vulnerable, just like they did with you at the beginning, during the trauma bonding and during the love bombing stage. Do not be surprised if when you get into therapy, your narcissistic partner starts love bombing and trying to trauma bond with your therapist. Don't be surprised about that. They are trying to get supply out of this. And they are going to use this avenue, this little session, to degrade you. They're going to turn it around and make it about how you don't understand them, about how you aren't being there for them, and they're going to make it all about themselves. They're going to steamroll you, which means they're not going to give you a chance to talk. They're going to control the session and make sure that the therapist is wooed and on their side. And you are going to get nothing out of it except for narcissistic rage and physical or emotional violence afterwards. My own personal experience, and this is me talking from my own exact experience, very at the end of the marriage, during the pandemic, because we were stuck in pandemic mode, doing couples therapy over Zoom. I only had like 10 minutes left in the session, and the therapist asked my ex-husband to leave, to go to another room, put on headphones, close the door, put on music, so that I could have some privacy and air out some of my things, some of my issues in the marriage. And this is like the second or third session. It wasn't even the first session. It was like I had sat there and had my ex just control and monopolize and monologue the entire time. And the therapist finally was like, I need to hear what's going on with your wife over here. So you need to give us a few minutes, give us some privacy. And so I opened up a little bit with the therapist and said, look, I don't see any hope of this marriage continuing. It's very emotionally abusive, and it's over. Like, I'm done. And I don't know what else I said exactly, but I tried to open up a little bit in that very short amount of time that I had. And, just so he could understand what was going on with our marriage. And basically, I already knew at that point that I was heading towards divorce. And I was hoping that having a therapist, like a session, would help kind of navigate us through the divorce process. That's not what happened. But it did help a little bit. What happened after that session, we said goodbye, closed it up. I got raged at for over an hour because he did not give me that privacy. My ex-husband was in the room listening to everything that I said to the therapist. So he violated my privacy, and he then turned that into like a rage against me. I actually have a recording of it. And he yelled at me, cussed me out. How dare I say he's emotionally abusive? How dare I do all this stuff? How dare I open up to a therapist and talk bad about him behind his back? Who do I think I am? I'm so cold-hearted. And he kicked the wall, hit the wall, punched the wall, wouldn't let me leave the house, told me I was being immature because I wasn't going to talk and discuss it with him because I was upset that he violated my privacy. That's a huge trigger for me. And there's no trust between us. I said, there's no trust now. You violated my privacy. You have no idea how degrading that is to me, and I can't trust you. The relationship is over. Like, I can't do this anymore. And he just couldn't handle that and just completely just went off for over an hour, cussing and screaming and yelling and punching and kicking the walls. And I'm like, yeah, this right here is emotional abuse. You are doing the emotional abuse right now. I mean, I see it now completely clear. At the time, I was just stuck and survive and just trying to get through that minute, trying to breathe, not let it, like, not interact with him, not engage in that pattern. I hadn't fully understood at that time how emotionally abusive things were. And I didn't realize at that time that he was a narcissist. I was still thinking that maybe there was some other personality disorder or some other chemical imbalance, something else going on. I mean, he did have the addiction issue with alcohol. And because of my childhood with an alcoholic father, we blamed alcohol for a lot of things that went wrong. And honestly, now I know better. I've been in therapy groups with other, partners of alcoholics, and I found out that not all alcoholics are abusive. So it wasn't just the alcohol, it just was him. He's just abusive. So I say all that because as a warning to anyone who is thinking maybe they need to get their partner into couples therapy and it'll fix everything, because it's not going to. It is dangerous. They get more violent after therapy because they can't handle being vulnerable, and they can't handle not controlling things. They don't want you to go to therapy because they want to control what you say about them and what you do. And they want to keep you under their control. They don't want you to get stronger. So instead of couples therapy, you need to get your individual therapy. If your partner is serious about getting healthy and getting self-reliant and working through their issues and being a self-healer, tell them to get their own therapist. Tell them to go to individual therapy. Tell them to work on their stuff. And I guarantee that if you are both very dedicated to your own individual healing and your own individual work, the relationship will flourish. The relationship will benefit. You don't need couples therapy. In fact, in an abusive relationship, it's detrimental. I just really want that to be an extra just highlighted thing. I already did a video about how narcissists will keep you from getting your healing and going to therapy and why. But I just really wanted to really make an extra clip to really point out that the dangers of going to couples therapy with an abuser. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just get your own healing, focus on yourself. Because even if you do, and they seem like they're going well, it's an act and they're not going to keep it up. And then they're going to be blaming you. Or they're going to, if you end up being like, hey, remember how the therapist said that we should be communicating by X, Y, Z? And they're going to be like, nah, man, that's dumb. I don't believe that. Or I already did that. We already went to therapy and proved to you that I care. And they use it as like they checked it off their list of things. Now you can't nag them about stuff anymore. We already talked about that in therapy. You're like, it's an unresolved thing we never resolved. You haven't changed. And they're gonna be like, what are you talking about? We already went to therapy over this. Why are you still bringing it up? It's like, because you quit therapy in the middle of it. I'm telling you, too. If a therapist says something that they don't want to hear, they're going to quit. They're not going to keep going. My ex did that I don't know how many times. Went to therapy and he didn't like what they were saying about him, so he quit. Oh, I don't like what they said. They don't know what they're talking about. I know myself better. Anyways. So just get your own healing. Focus on yourself. I wish you well. Thanks for listening. Bye.